welcome to the Melbourne Chapter. This is number one, and hoping to do many, many more with Miro and everybody here. We've got Jin looking. Okay, let me just try bringing everybody to me. So, all right, before we continue, let's just go through the agenda. It'll be pretty intimate, so we'll do like hellos, a bit of bio, grab a photo from your socials or LinkedIn and whatnot. We'll do some activities, so how you use Miro, and brainstorm some community activities for future events. We'll have a guest speaker, so around 6:30. I'll figure out if we have enough time, and we'll do some lockdown activities, and there's a board for the feedback. I'm your facilitator for today. My name is Sarah. I work at Open Market Groups. I used to be in ANZX too, so all about the fintech space, and as an agile delivery lead. I've worked with a few people here. Inez, who's my star for the night and all the time actually, she's helped create this amazing board. So I'll zoom out for a bit so we can all appreciate. Each of the agenda items, we'll probably talk a little bit about it, but just some sneak questions for you, Inez, like, how did you find this whole process of creating some Melbourne, like sites using Miro?
It was a little bit of a challenge. Do you want me to talk about it now, or do you want me to save it for later so you can keep going on the agenda? Either way.
Okay. Fine. No. Let's do a little quickie now since I asked.
All right. Go for it. So it was interesting because, like, as you guys know, Miro isn't a design, well, like, it's not specifically a design tool, it's a collaboration tool. But Sarah had this really cool vision about making the board like have a little bit of a theme, especially because when we were still thinking about this, and because as we've had right now, there was always a possibility of having like a bit of a lockdown, and we knew that the first event was going to be remote. So Sarah was like, okay, how can we make this event a little bit about Melbourne? And I was like, all right, let me see what I can do. So all of this was just made with the shapes tools and just having a look at the palette. It was a bit of a challenge, but it was not impossible. It was just like with everything that you do on Miro, just getting a little bit creative about how you can use the tools and how you can push them a little bit further. Again, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it as an illustration tool, but it doesn't mean that you can't use it that way. So it was fun. It was interesting. It was a challenge.
Yeah.
And it just means that anyone can edit it at any point. I hope nothing happens to me, but if something were to happen, Sarah can still jump in and go, okay, I'll just grab everything and not have to pull it out of some obscure file that I have on my computer. She'd just be able to edit it wherever she wanted to, or she could make a template if she wanted to.
Yeah, honestly, I love the little details, like that's Flinders Street, and we actually the cathedral or something, and like from the shadows of the Brighton boxes. I really, really love this.
I'm happy you like it.
So all right. Thank you. All right, so quick agenda. So we'll do the bios in the left-hand side. I think some of you guys have already started doing it. Yep. And then when you're done, head over to the how we're using Miro. So the pink dots, how you're currently using it, and then the yellow for the things that you'd like to use it. And if there are things that aren't there, feel free to add a post-it note, just so that it's represented. My brother is an architect, and I only found out recently that he's actually using this, and I'm like, different industry, and he's actually using it, which is so cool.
So what do you use it for most, Phil? Like, no, I'm really curious. Like,
I know.
Yeah, what do you guys use it for?
We mainly use it for keeping the checks and balances with our drawings, making sure that everyone's on the same page.
Oh, cool.
On the progress of our drawings, basically.
Amazing.
Overseas from Manila, and we collaborate with our Los Angeles office, so everyone's on the same page. So it's pretty cool.
Nice.
Awesome. Pretty interesting.
Also, if anyone has any questions on how to use the tool or anything, like if it's maybe your first time using it, feel free to just either post it in a chat or just ask any questions, and we'll do what we can.
There's a QR code here. No, it's not a COVID check-in QR code. It's a link to our Slack account so that we can continue to have conversations after this. And I actually appreciate it if it's using the shapes in Miro, because when you upload it and when your users upload it, it uploads a lot faster. Because what I found when doing something in Illustrator and then uploading here, I mean, it still works, but it just takes a bit of time for everybody to log on and get all the assets uploaded. So this is our first kickoff, but essentially, I'm your like Inez and I will help you to figure out like to organize this. But what do we want to what do we want to happen in these sessions? So, like tell us what you want to hear, like topics you want to discuss, people you want to have as speakers, and even like in this like the group here, I'm pretty sure we can get you to tell us a little bit about like your space and we can learn from each other. So keen to get your thoughts. You know, what do we want to learn? Who do we want to hear from? So far, let's just say the sky's the limit in terms of the speakers, but I have a few already. So it could be like, you know, people from the different organizations, entrepreneurs, skills that we want to learn. Therefore, we'll get somebody who can speak in that topic area. So share away so that in the next meetups we'll have them. And obviously, you know, we'll have like the pizza and beer, like the whole meetup vibe. And hopefully some goodies from Miro.
Thank you, Sarah, and thanks for inviting me. Quite excited to be here because this is my first Miro user group meetup that I attended and speaking as well. So my name is Farbod, and I joined Miro around a year ago. I'm a product lead in the platform stream, which is about creating ecosystem around Miro, ecosystem of developers to create apps and integrations on top of Miro. So today I'm going to talk about this framework, which is called Product Alignment Framework, which is one of the core frameworks that is being used across all the product teams at Miro. Can I share my screen? So
yep,
for this slide.
Of course. I'll stop sharing. Go for it.
So first, I'm going to give you a short summary of what the framework is, what's the goal behind it, and then after that, I talk about why I created this framework in first place and why we wrote it out at Miro, and then I do a deep dive on the actual framework itself. So to summarize what the framework is, the goal of the framework is to help companies to get aligned around the product discovery and product launches. And it consists of a document which is called PAD, and which is abbreviation for Product Alignment Document. This is at the core of everything. It's a single source of truth to document all your product discovery result plus product decisions. And there's a meetings that come with it, which is called Product Alignment Meeting. And the purpose of that is to present the content of Product Alignment Document and also get feedback. And the problem, what was the main reason that this framework was created in the first place? Before this framework, product reviews already existed at Miro. So there was a panel where PMs would come and present some of their decisions and get feedback from peers. The problem was that this meeting was not much a structure, so every PM would present it in their own format, and certain question was keep coming up in every meetings. So as an obvious approach, like as a sort of obvious solution, was to standardize a template that cover most of the questions and help PMs to make sure that they don't miss anything. And the second problem was that Miro was growing too fast. So I don't know if any of you wrote the original article that I wrote about this, but for those who haven't, when I joined Miro, we had 3 million users, and now we have 20 after a year, 20 million users, and we had 300 employees, and now we have 800. So it was a pretty roller coaster year in terms of growth and all the changes that comes with it. And because of this hyper growth, we had PMs who were starting every week or every other week. And the product reviews were not as scalable, and we needed to have some sort of a structure so new PM knew what is expected from this meeting. And again, these are some problems which are specific to Miro, but there are a lot more reasons to use this approach at your company, regardless of what's the size of the company or in which stage you are. And there was also lack of a structure, problem and solution discovery. Sometimes PMs wouldn't discover the problem space enough. You wouldn't understand why this PM is focused on this problem and not other problems, or why they jumped and picked this solution versus other solution. Did they discover potential other solution as well or not, for instance? And there was also lack of shared learning, especially post-launch. So the teams would launch the product, and of course, the other teams within that product stream were aware what happened during that product launch. Was it successful or not, and what was the learnings? But there was no panel to share these learnings across all the product team. And I started, after observing these issues, I started interviewing PMs and also did some research. And at the end, it came down to first principle thinking, which is like every product development start with capturing or identifying an opportunity to capture or finding a problem to solve. And after that, you do the solution framing, and then you build the product, then you launch it. And after that, you do the post-launch recap. So it sounds very obvious because it's problem discovery, solution discovery, and retro. And every company might do it to a certain extent, but it's the detail about each part, which I'm going to go next, which makes this powerful, because the question that is asked in each section is coaching the PM to make sure that they don't miss anything during this discovery. So I'm going to jump on the template itself of the framework. The template itself, as I said, has 3 sections. The first section is opportunity/problem framing. And here we list what problem are we trying to solve, or what is the opportunity that we are addressing? Because sometimes it's a problem to solve, sometimes it's an opportunity to capture. An example is improve a sketching function, or new users don't know how to use sketching features, and so forth. And we list who are the audience that we solve this problem for, like free plan users or new users, etc. This is one of the most important part of this piece. So there is a why. How do we know this is the right problem to solve, and why this opportunity and not others? So within every product development, there are a set of problems to solve. And as a PM, you need to rely on your strategy. That's what the product strategy is meant for. So you have a company strategy. Based on that, you also create your own product strategy. And that product strategy helps you to prioritize which problems you want to work on, for instance, this quarter, and which ones you want to park for next. So similar to solution backlogs that PMs need to prioritize, I suggest to every PM that they need to also have a problem backlog or opportunity backlog, and they need to keep prioritizing it every quarter or periodically. And this is the question to make sure that you're not focusing on a wrong problem at this stage. And then we have success metric. How do we know if we solve this problem? You add any competitive research and insight here as well, which is about how did others capture this opportunity or solve this problem. So this is very relevant if you are trying to fill in a gap, competitive gap. So you're working on a competitive neutralizer feature. So you try to see how others solve it. Sometimes you might want to do exactly what the competitor did. Sometimes you want to get inspired, but have your own approach. And sometimes you just want to avoid what other competitors did. But at least you need to be mindful of what others did. And at the end, we also have potential solution directions. So we are still in a problem and opportunity discovery phase. We are not going to list a very detailed deep dive of the solution. Is purely just maybe one or two sentences per solution. The example is like for the problem that we talked about, create 3 new preset brushes, or build a walkthrough in app which is like some sort of onboarding, or improve a sketching tool ability. Very high level, and preferably also estimated super high level, like in a t-shirt sizing way. Like, is this thing is going to take us days to build, or weeks, or months, or maybe quarters at that level. And once this stage is done, the PM is bringing the result of the PM presenting the result of this stage in a meeting, which I'm going to talk about, to get feedback and buy-in. And then once that goes well, they go to solution framing. And in the solution framing, the questions are, what is the scope of the proposed solution? What are the key features? How complex it is to realize it? And that means the team already chose one of these solutions, which we talked about here, based on their own judgment. And we also list what is out of the scope in this solution. We also try to list what are the rejected solutions and why. So if you remember in the previous section, we had like multiple high-level solutions. Here we try to provide reasoning why we decided to go for these specific solutions that we chose. And what are the dependencies, risk, and mitigation? So privacy risk, security, compliance, any type of risk or dependencies and mitigation can be listed here. And this is also a very important part of this section, the Gtms strategy, which is go-to-market strategy. And this is where PM collaborates with the product marketing peer, depending on your company, if you have product marketing peer, to work on a release plan, like how many milestones we have. Do we have alpha, beta, general accessibility? What are the target dates for each? What are the marketing and operational support that we need for each? And what's the pricing and packaging strategy? Depending on how strong your company is in the product marketing, you might, or how heavy invested you are in the product marketing, you might want to have a separate template where you list all of this. So for Gtms strategy, we have a totally separate template. We just add the link here, and it's a very comprehensive template about everything. So if you're a smaller startup, probably that will be lighter, but for us, it's just a dedicated template. And then again, they bring they present the outcome of this in the product review, they get feedback, and then they go ahead, they build a product, they launch the product, and once the product is launched, after a certain period, there's a product launch recap, post-launch recap, which is reflecting on how successful we were in achieving our goals according to success metric and actual results. And also, what are the learnings that we can take to improve further? And this learning is both for your team, but also sharing to others so they can learn from your learnings. And now let's quickly talk about the actual meeting itself. As I mentioned during this meeting, the PM and the team which is accountable for that PAD, they present a single stage. And the goal is to receive feedback from peers and buy-in from leadership and sponsors. So here, the feedback is coming from other product peers which are in the meeting, which is very helpful because they have fresh ideas, and some of them are not they were not previously exposed to your product, so they might not have certain biases that you have. And also the part which is about buying from leadership and the sponsors, I talk about later about the possible outcomes of this meeting. They basically give thumbs up, thumbs down to the result of the product problem framing or the solution framing. And that is normally, depending on your company, it can be CEO, it can be head of product. In our company, the sponsors are the head of product stream. So if we have a, let's say, use cases product stream, then there is a head of design, head of engineering, and head of product. And the goal of this meeting, as I said, is to get feedback from peers, but also it's about sharing learnings and getting exposed to new ideas. So a lot of PMs which are part of that meeting might not be working on areas which is related to the actual presentation. But since you as a PM get exposed to so many ideas beyond your own product area. It's like a free product training, because you constantly see other product challenges that other PMs are facing, how they are resolving it. So it's like a training your company product muscle. And of course, it the meeting is not mandatory for people which are not related to that product meeting. So it's not like we are forcing every single PM in the company to join this, but all the PMs are invited as optional to this meeting. And the people whose presence are required for this meeting, either because of dependencies or the leadership, they will be marked as required. But at Miro, a lot of PMs are actually attending this meeting because it takes only maybe 1 or max 2 hours per week. But it's really a great product training. And besides the fact that you get exposed to other part of the product, sometimes cross-pollinations happens and you identify dependencies which you were not aware of, and so forth. So as an example, for instance, someone was presenting a diagramming feature within this product reviews, and I noticed that my team needs to do something on the platform side for it. And because of this meeting, we identified some of those missing dependencies which you might not, for some reason, you might miss. And as I said, the panel includes the team which is presenting, obviously, and the whole product guild, and also the cross-functional leadership. And about the possible outcomes, which is coming from the leadership. And one last thing, also our CEO is attending every single product alignment meeting, which is really great, because after all, he's one of the biggest contributor to the company yearly strategy, and this helps him to stay on top of where the products are going, like what are the result of discoveries, what are the insights, and everything else. So I think this is very helpful for any company, especially a startup. So if you're a smaller, for sure, I think you need to have your CEO and leadership there. And the possible outcomes are: looks great, please proceed; approved, please account for recommended course correction; or directionally okay, but please follow up offline before proceeding; or not approved, additional work required. I personally can't recall if I ever seen this, or maybe Pearly, we had the outcome not approved. And there's a big reason behind it. And the reason is because the template structure is in a way that it doesn't, it basically helps the PM, coach the PM to make sure that there's no missing point during the discovery. So you as a PM have to know very well why you're focused on this problem and not other problems. You need to know very well your audience. You need to know their problems. You need to know how competitive landscapes looks and how others solve it, and so forth. And also same about solutions. So when you're coming to this meeting or when you're doing your discovery, you're already so prepared and have so much more context than anyone else in the company on that specific topic, which means that the leadership is just there to provide feedback similar to the peers, just make sure there's no missing point. But most of the time, because you have the most complex context compared to others, you are in the best position to make that decision and make those decisions. And there's a little chance that those decisions don't get approved. And sometimes when I present this, I get this question that isn't this framework causing micromanagement, especially in some companies which are top-down, because it gives more powers for top-down decision makings. And to me, this is exactly anti-top-down decision makings, because and the main reason is because, as I said, you are so prepared and you have so much context. If there's anyone from leadership there who tells you, okay, I don't think we should work on this problem and we should focus on something else, they better have a good reasoning and they better have done a better research than you as a PM. And otherwise, there's no chance for them to challenge you on why are you working on this problem and why you pick this solution. So I think this is exactly what you want if you're having a top-down or some sort of micromanagement in your company. It can be a cure for it. And yeah, I think that's basically it. So the summary talked about the product alignment document, PAD, and also the meetings that comes with it. And I'm not sure if you have time for Q&A, so I can tell if you have time.
Yeah, we definitely have time. I guess like my follow-up question, and please, everybody, if you have questions, feel free to put it in chat or jump right after. I can't see the view, but I guess you mentioned that it's usually a tool that we use that's being used with the product alignment meeting. So is it mostly just product managers attending with the CEO, or is it like different disciplines as well?
Yeah, so that's a good question. It's a cross-functional meeting to certain extent and to certain extent not. So the PM and the team which is presenting is cross-functional. So the PM which is presenting the PAD has also his engineering leadership in that team and also design leadership in that team. So it can be your designer, it can be also your tech lead. And also in the leadership, we also have cross-functional team there. So we have head of design, as I said, and head of product and head of engineering. But besides those, the rest are only PMs. And that's simply because sometimes we might optionally invite from the teams which we have dependency on also the engineering counterparts. But the rest of the optional attendees are only PMs.
Okay, that's good. Good insight. Lynn,
Right.
if you have a question?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. Sorry.
Go for it.
Yeah. Can I just ask? Do you guys use PowerPoint at all, or do you guys all switched on to Miro for decision making presentation?
So for presentation, we are using Miro.
Yes.
For the discovery, actually, surprisingly, although we have this template, we are using sometimes Google document and sometimes sometimes Jira. So now we are not Jira, sorry, Confluence. Now we are trying to consolidate everything in Confluence table, and the reason behind this is because we are not trying to be very religious about Miro, using Miro at Miro. So we are using it for everything that we believe is suit for us. And this template, at least for the, again, depending on your company, maybe this template is going to be lighter or the content going to be lighter. But for us, it's a quite heavy exercise, and it's going to be pretty hard to visualize the outcome on this template. So we have a proper PAD, which is similar to some of the heavy PRD that you might see in other companies. The only main difference is PRDs at companies is a lot focused on solutions. So it might mention, of course, the problems, but it doesn't consider different problems. It doesn't include different type of problems in that documents and all the comparative research and all, the whole result of the problem and opportunity discovery.
Yeah, I mean this. I think this framework was great. Just really help you to think through the problems to the solution. So just you mentioned that you also have a Confluence to replicate what you're trying to communicate through this. Right. Okay.
So it's exactly, just let me find the.
So many insights on how you work.
Yeah.
How Miro operates.
Yes. And actually, I think it's nice that we are not extremely religious about using Miro at Miro, because I think you should, yeah, dog fooding is great, but you should recognize like what's the strength of your tool and what are some other tools that might be more stronger than your tool in certain areas, and just use it for that purpose. So I added in the original blog post, I also included the Google Doc template.
Oh,
so if you see it's
yep. Cool.
It's pretty it's similar to the template that you saw. So there are guiding questions in every section. There are just headings and you just start filling them in.
Ooh, we'll definitely take advantage. Inez, you had a question. You might be on.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. So thank you so much for that, Farbod. That was really cool to see that. So I have a couple questions about the template that you use. And it might just be because I haven't understood necessarily. So for this template, it sounds like you use it throughout the lifespan of, let's call it like through the lifespan of maybe like one feature or one product or one improvement of one product. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. Yes.
So when you go to the meeting, is that once you've completed, let's say, like that improvement on that feature, or or is it kind of like during the meeting, everyone checks in at what process they are at of improving that feature or product?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I think I didn't clarify it maybe during the presentation. We after every stage, so the teams, you as a product team, you did, pick the problem and you start also working on that problem. Once the opportunity and problem framing is done, then you bring basically you bring this section to present it in the product alignment meeting and to get feedback. So we have an agenda tracker, and every team's at their topics. It's not right now. We have it every week because simply because of the demand. Sometimes in some week we have like 3 teams presenting. Sometimes we have 1. Sometimes sometimes there are more. Sometimes there are less. In general, I think if your company is smaller, there is not enough demand for it. You can just make it ad hoc. So whenever the result of this is ready, then the team is just inviting the relevant parties to the product alignment meeting to present. For us, as I said, there's a tracker, teams adding them, and it's just happening every week simply because there's a lot of teams. Yeah, and once that is done, then you go to next section, and then you also do this again. You bring the outcome, you present it, and also same after once you launch the product, you fill in this section and you bring it to present the learnings and outcome.
That's really cool. I really like that because I think that sometimes, I don't know about everybody else, but in terms of work, one of the things that happens is that it's difficult to stay on top of what everybody else is working on. And also just like, I feel like there must be a sense of accountability in terms of saying, hey guys, that thing that I spoke about that while ago, this is how it's going. And these are the things that we've learned. So I think that's really cool. That's awesome. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, that's a very great one. I think it's great for sync. It's great for dependency identification. Hopefully the dependencies are identified earlier, but just any missing dependencies. And cross-pollinations, just getting exposed to new ideas. It's simply like meetups that you go there and a PM is presenting a challenge they face and how they are solving it.
Nice. Another question. With the Miro board, like there are bigger boxes and bigger, like they're small. The boxes are all different. Does it sort of identify which area you should spend more time on, or it's just random?
No, it's pretty random. So some of it's not fully random because as you can see, like the problem part is pretty bigger. The proposed solution is probably the biggest part because that's where the regular PRD is, let's say, and but I think again for some features the Gtms strategy is pretty heavy. For some of them actually the competitive research might be heavy, for some of them might be light. So it really depends on the product area or problem that you're working
on. Nice. Amazing. And just one last question. With the size of Miro, how was that whole I guess getting people on board with this template like what was that journey?
Yeah, so I think it was adopted super fast, which was super interesting and sort of exciting.
They were craving for it.
Yes, I think it shows that there was definitely a need for it. So when I created this, I presented within a sort of PAD club, a few people that we were thinking about solving this problem. Once that was confirmed, I presented to also my own peers within our product stream because Miro has different product stream. And we started experimenting. Everyone in our stream, which is called platform, started using it. And then somehow unofficially it was passed to other teams and everyone started using. So by the time that I presented this in our product guild, I think half of the PMs were already using it or more. And right after that, everyone switched to this format. And yeah, since then, like all the product teams are using it.
That's so good. Pretty much just influenced everybody. There was a need and you're like, okay, are you sure you didn't have like, donuts in the side? Use this, you can get a donut.
Might be, and I'm actually curious to see how this goes in other companies, if there will be any objection coming from anyone, because this is, of course, the first time I roll this out in a company. And I would be curious how it works for startups, how it works for corporates. And I can imagine, depending on the size of a company, it might not make sense to structure it like us and everyone and invite everyone in the product yet. And if you're working in a big corporates, then maybe it's only happening within your own product stream or product area, because that is going to be as big as Miro. So yeah, I think there might be different variation of it at different companies, but in general, I'm curious how it goes. So if any of you try this at your company, please ping me and let me know if there was any challenges along the way for rolling this out and so forth.
Yeah, absolutely. We're definitely trying to roll it out at Open Markets Group. But yeah, thank you for that. Thanks. Very good insight. Very it's pretty easy to use. I'm trying to roll it out myself, so we'll definitely keep you in the loop. I didn't know there was a Google Docs, so that's going to be useful as well.
Yeah.
Thank
you as well.
Yeah.
And thank you for kicking off the user group. Yes.
Yeah, yay. Natalie's gonna be happy. Gosh. Oh, I think she's yep. But yeah, all right. Well, we're gonna wrap it up. I do want to get everybody back to their, I don't know, have their dinner. I know Lynn was cooking. I need to figure out what I'm gonna be cooking too. Enjoy the rest of your day, Farbod. Thank you for the time, and hopefully we'll see each other in another event.